Good morning and welcome to Access Database class. Now the cool thing about Access is that when you learn Access, you will be able to easily figure out any other type of database that you might encounter in the workforce. Access is not just like every other Microsoft Office product, so a lot of people look at it and kind of freak out, but the truth is it is not very difficult. It gets a bad rap just because it's something different. Once you learn Access Database, it really makes a lot of sense and you're really going to enjoy it. Access is perfect for a small business. They can run everything through Access. Export and import Excel worksheets and export and import Word documents. You can make reports, you can make receipts, you can keep track of clients and people who work there and how much they paid and their hours, everything. This is the perfect thing to run an entire small business off of. How to keep up with your inventory. It is all there. Everything that you would need to run a small business and keep track of everything that goes on in that small business. On page AC5 it tells you to open up Access. So in the book it teaches you to come to the bottom left hand corner of your screen and go to the search programs box, and from there you can type in Access and it takes you straight to the Access program and you can click on that and open it. Now if you notice on my screen I also keep Access in my status bar so I don't have to do that search. And you can always click in here and go to all programs and slide down to Microsoft, and that takes a long time to do that and it gets a little old, especially when you're opening the same program over and over and over, which is why I put it in my status bar. So you can grab that and drag it down there and stick it in your status bar if you want. Okay? So we are going to open Access. However you open it is awesome. Whatever makes you happy, go right on ahead. Open up Access. Now look on page 6, the next page. It tells you to open up the blank database. So we're going to click on that and then it opens up this box. And a lot of people do this incorrectly because it is very different from the rest of Microsoft. So the first thing we have to do is name the entire database. Remember, the database has several different tables within it. Now, for the purpose of this class, I'm going to ask you to put your last name first, and then your first initial, and then underscore it, and then you will name it what the book tells you to, which in number 2, it tells you to name it as Bavant Publishing. So B-A-V-A-N-T Publishing. Alright, and you won't have to put your name on like that on any of your tables or reports or anything else because your entire database has your name on it. Now, anytime the book tells you to print, I obviously don't want you to print it on a piece of paper because you're submitting all of your assignments online and I really can't get a piece of paper from online. So, anytime the book tells you to print, you are going to print it as either an Adobe PDF or as an XPS file, and I will show you how to do that. Now, with that being said, so we are going to name it last name, first initial, underscore, Bavant Publishing. Then you will come over here to this box or this folder and you're going to browse to where you want to save it. Now, for me, I have made a work folder. So I will come in here and I am also going to save this as a chapter 1 folder. Now I do that because we use this same database for the entire semester, and let's say in chapter 2 you make a mess of it and it would take a whole bunch of work to start over. So instead of starting the entire thing over, you can just go to the previous chapter, open that and start from there instead of having to do the entire thing. So for me, I will be saving each chapter as a new one into a new chapter folder. That way I eliminate having to do so much work if I mess up. Alright, so I'm calling it Smith D. Bavant Publishing, and I am in my Access and my work folder in my chapter 1. You do not have to do all that. That's just how I do it. So save it where you're going to save all of your work. Just make sure all of your Access work is together so that you don't have to look for it. Alright, say OK. Now, you can see here, it shows you exactly where it is saved. So you do want to make sure, if you are working in the lab at school, make sure this is not the on the school computers, because that will be erased as soon as the computer is turned off. Make sure that it is on your flash drive instead. So make sure you know where this stuff is saved. After you do that, click on the Create button. And it opens up a blank database, and you can see here in your title bar that it has last name, first initial, underscore, Bavant Publishing database. So this database will have tables, reports, forms, everything else that you can think of that has to deal with Bavant Publishing. And notice that the first thing it opens up is Table 1, is automatic. Now, over here on the left-hand side, this is the Table 1 that we are fixing to work with. Also, something kind of cool, you can give yourself more space by clicking on this double arrow thing. It's called a shutter bar. Open and close button. You can click on that and it gives you more space. You open it up and you can see everything. In here will be a list of every table, query, form, report, anything that you have saved in this database will be here in your navigation pane for you to easily open up and access. Alright, so after we have done that, you're going to turn to, now I do advise that you read everything in this book. I'm actually just going to go over all the steps of working the database, but if you read this book, you will understand Access so much better. I was telling my son the other day, you can always tell the students who read their chapters and the ones who don't. Turn to page AC12. You'll notice number 1 says to right-click the column heading. This ID is an auto number. The Access database automatically gives it a unique name or a unique number. And in this case, we want it to be something that we assign it instead of the default. Always make sure in your assignments, if the book says to change the first name or the ID, make sure that you do so, because if you leave that on there, I will count points off. So the first thing it says is that we want to rename that field. So we go down to rename, we click on that. Notice it highlights the ID, and number 2 says to call it book rep number. Now, the book rep number is going to be something that has to be a unique identifier, which means that no 2 book reps can have the same number, correct? You can't have Fred and Paul having the same number. So this is going to end up being a primary key, which means that it has to be unique. And the Access database will not allow you to put any 2 numbers in there that are identical for a different person. So this is a great thing. Each book rep, that way you don't accidentally give this 2 different people the same number. So it tells us to do that, and then we click on the white space below. Now that inserts it. Okay. Next, it says to auto number. Since we want to assign our own numbers, we're going to come up here, see you have table tools, fields, and in the formatting section it has data type. And where it says auto number, the book on number 3 says to choose short text. So we'll slide down to short text and we will choose that. So with short text, you know you will not be doing any mathematical functions, obviously, but it's going to allow us to put numbers and letters into that field. Alright, now on page 13 it says to go to the field size. Number 5 does, and it says to change the field size to a size 2. So if you look in the properties section, you see field size, and it wants us to change it to 2. So when you click in here, notice it highlights the whole thing, and the book actually tells you to backspace or delete it. You don't have to, just type the number 2, and since the whole thing was highlighted, it erases the whole thing. It saves you a second, and we're all in a hurry, so a second is great. So next it says to go to the Table Tools fields. So here we are on the Table Tools. Here's the fields, and in the Properties group, so exactly where we've been. And it wants us to open up the Name and Caption button. So here's Name and Caption right above the field size. So we click on that. Now, the name of the field is Book Rep Number. Now that is a really long name. So what Caption does, it lets us call it something else that's shorter, and that's what's going to show right here in that title. So we are going to call this BR space £, okay? It's for Book Rep Number, okay? Now, in the description is so that if somebody sees this and they don't know what it's for. So if you're creating a database for other people to use, which that would be awesome, because then you can create great databases that people can use, and then they can pay you, and you can do that for several companies instead of just having one little thing. So you can make some nice little chunk of change that way. So on number 5 at the last tab bullet, it says choose unique unique identifier of book rep. So we know, since it is a unique identifier, this is going to be a primary key, which means that no number can be used twice. Alright? So we're going to say OK. Now, notice we have BR number there, but if we were to click on our name and caption, it would show us exactly what it is. Alright? And you're going to see this in another view here in a minute. Now, on page 13, number 6 says to click OK. We already did that. So page 14, we want to click on the Click to Add column. And in this case, they want us to add short text. So we're going to slide to short text. And now it's going to let us choose the field name, and it's going to be last name. Now, in Access, you always want to put the last name and first name in separate columns. That way you can sort by last name or first name, or sort last names within first names, or the other way around. If you put them together, you severely limit yourself. Alright, and also it affects your reports, everything else. So just say always, always, always put the last name and the first names in separate columns. Alright, so next thing we want to do is to enter that, we're going to click in the white space below that field name. Notice how it pops over here. Pay attention to that. It is really aggravating, but that it is what it is. That's just how it works, and no, I don't like it. But when you click in there, your cursor pops over to the field for the first field. So click the blank under last name one more time to actually select that field. So for that, it's going to ask us to change the field size to 15. So once again, I'll click in the field size in the properties section and type in 15 for my field size. Now, on page AC15, number 3, it says to go to page AC11 and put in the rest of the information. So if you'll turn to page AC11, table 1-3, notice that it has the field name, book rep number, short text. We've already done the first two. So the third one is first name. So we'll click on click to add. And it tells you to the right that the data type is short text. So we click on short text. And we have to put in the name, first name. And then click below in the white area to accept. And notice the cursor jumps back to the BR and pound sign, so we click again in the first name one and it goes back to the first name. It's just kind of a weird thing about Access. So under that, then we want to change the field size to 15. Now notice that mine's jumped to the Home tab, so if for some reason yours does something strange like that, it's okay. Just notice that you have the Table Tools area here, and you click on Fields, and there's our field size again. So our field size is supposed to be 15, so we click in field size one time. We type 15, and that is our field size, and there's nothing in the notes. So we're just going to hit enter, and it jumps back to the first name position. So next in our chart is street. So we will click on click to add. Street is supposed to be short text according to the data type in the book. And then we will have to type street as our name. We'll click in the white area, click in the white area, look in the book, and it says the field size for city should be 20. So we'll click on field size and type 20. See, Access is not so scary after all, is it? In the book, the next thing it has is state. So click on click to add. Click on short text. Type state. And the book says field size should be 2. So click once, click twice, and field size is 2. Hit enter. Alright. Next one is postal code. So click to add. The book says short text. Then we will type postal code, and notice that on postal code the field size is 5, so we're going to click once in the white area, click again, go back to field size and type a 5. Hit enter. Yay! Start date is the next one, so click to add. Now notice in the book that the data type is date/time. So we are going to choose a different data type. So come down to date time and click on there. The field will be start date, and it has a space. And then we'll click once, click twice, and notice that in the notes it says this appears as date time on the menu of available data types. Now, since it is in brackets, you do not have to type it, but since we're trying to learn how to do all this stuff, we are going to go to name and caption. And you got to remember, anytime you create a database, you have to create it so that people who come in after you will be able to use it, because truth be known, if you can be in charge of creating databases and somebody else is in charge of typing the stuff in, then you'll be making a whole lot more money than the person who will just be typing it in. Now, if you have to do both, that's great, but you still always want to have it fixed so that when you get promoted, the person who comes in behind you can still use the stuff that you use so that all your hard work isn't wasted. Alright, so in the caption we're going to type this appears as date and time on the menu of available data types. Alright, and once again, you did not have to do that, but I wanted to make sure that you know how to do that. Oh, that's caption. We want that under description. My bad. Alright. Then say OK. Next one is salary, so we will click on click to add. And then we'll go to currency. The book says data type is currency, so we'll slide down here. And the book will automatically format for currency. And isn't that awesome? So we click on currency, we'll type currency, click in the white space, click in the white space. And the last one is bonus rate, so click to add. And bonus rate, according to the book, the data type is number. Click on number. And we will type bonus rate. And it's just a plain number, so notice there's already a 0 there, but here's our formatting. So we click in the white space, click in the white space, and format is fixed. So here's our format. We'll click on the down arrow and choose fixed. There you go. So it'll automatically set it with 2 decimal points, but it does specifically say 2 decimal points, and so we just need to make sure that it has 2 decimal points. So it is there at 2, but I want you to see that you can increase and decrease your decimals right here, just like you do in Excel. All right, excellent. So then it looks like we're done with that, and we say yay. And then you go back to page 15. Next, turn to page AC16, and to save the table, it's going to tell us to click on the Save button, which is this little disc in the top left-hand corner, and you click on it once, and it should open up a box that says to save and how to save it. Now for me, I've opened and closed this a couple of times because it's been busy in and out. So for me, I'm going to do File Save As. For you though, it should automatically open it to the correct box. And I'm going to do Save Object As. You should not have to do all of this. And I'm going to do Save Object As. And for me, okay, so when you get your save box, you will type in Book Rep, and that is the name of your table. We're going to click on OK. Here we go. Now on page AC17, it tells us to go to the View Table Tools. So here's Table Tools, and we want the Fields tab, so we should be here, and y'all probably are still there. Then to go to the Views section, so that's right there. So in the book, it's really good about telling you exactly where something is. So if you're confused, please, please, please make sure that you read each word in there, and it will tell you where to go. Now in this case, it wants you to click on the down arrow for the views, and you get to choose Datasheet View, which is the one we're in right now, and Design View. Now the cool thing about Design View is that everything we just did is already in here, and truth be known, the way it was taught was this is the only way you could put stuff in, and I personally prefer to put everything in here because it goes a lot faster to me, just because that's what I know. Notice that it has all those field names that you typed going across in the Datasheet View. It has them all listed straight down. It has all your data types listed. It also has all your descriptions. Down here at the bottom, it has all the information about each field that you are on. So in this case, notice I'm sitting on the bonus rate field, and it tells me long integer, fixed, auto, and oh, we were supposed to make that 2 decimals, weren't we? So you can just click in here, and you can either click on the down arrow or you can type the number 2. Pretty cool. Now auto would probably work when you start putting things into SAM. They get pretty picky. So you definitely want to make sure that you have everything exactly the way it's supposed to be. And to tell you the truth, when I grade, I make sure it is exactly the way that the book tells you to do it. So make sure that you put things exactly the way that they're supposed to be. Okay? Now, when we turn to page 18, it says, if necessary, click on the scroll bar to go to the bonus rate field and click on the row selector. Now this gray box out here, these are the row selectors. You can click on them from here, or you can just click in. It doesn't really matter. Either way, the row is selected. Unless, of course, we're wanting to add rows above or below. Now, on page 19, it says go to the field size box, and that is down here where it says long integer right now, and it says to change that to single. So we're going to go down to single. Alright? And then in the format, it says where it says fixed, and it tells you to do all the stuff that we already did, right? We already set it at fixed. We already set it at 2 decimals. So it's just telling us to do the same things we've already done. So then on page 20 it says close the table. So when you click over here on the X, it's going to yell at you and it says, do you want to save? And you're going to say yes. So we will click on yes. Alright, so you now have one book rep table in your Access database, or your Brevant publishing database. To add records to the table on page 20, it says to right click the book rep table in the navigation pane and then click on open. Now you're going to collapse the shutter bar, that's this double arrow thing, so that the navigation pane is collapsed, so you have more room. Now I'm going to show you a shortcut, just real quick. Don't do this with me, I'm going to show you. I'm going to close my book rep table. I personally think it's faster to double click. It does the same thing. Whatever works best for you, whether it's to right click and choose open or to double click, whatever makes your little heart glad, that's what you want to do. Alright, so we all should look like this right now. We are going to type information into this table, and just like just like Word, as you type, when you get to the end at bonus rate, when you hit tab, it'll automatically add another row, just like it does when you're doing a Word table. So we're going to type in, if we're looking at page 21 at the bottom, we're going to type in the number 53. Notice, see how it automatically added a row for us, and we would tab, we'll just go down there. On page 22 it says hit the tab key. Awesome. And so it's easy to navigate using the tab key or the right and left arrows. You can even do the up and down key. So you want to put in the information that you see on page 22, and it has it all written out step by step. And let's see, and I'm better at reading pictures, so I'm looking at figure 1-24, and the last name is supposed to be Chin, and then I tab, first name is Robert, and tab, street is 265 Maxwell Street. Now, just to show that not all of us are perfect, I've just realized that somehow I managed to leave out city. So if all of y'all did that, I am so sorry. But the cool thing about Access, it's really easy to add that in. Now for me, since the way I've always learned was to do it through the Datasheet View, I'm going to just click on my triangle thing here and go to the Datasheet View. I'm going to select my row, and I'm going to insert a row, and it inserts the row above. So that's supposed to be city, and I remember doing this, so probably in my comings and goings and my craziness of my life, I did something, and I believe that that's supposed to be a field size of 20. So I'm going to come down here to field and just type in a 20, and there you go, it's all fixed, no big deal. So I am leaving this in here so that y'all can see that, number one, none of us are perfect, number two, things happen, and number three, there's no sense getting upset, just fix it very quickly, and it's really pretty easy to do. It's a good lesson for life also. So city is Gossett, G-O-S-S-E-T-T, tab, and Pennsylvania is the state. The zip code is 19157. It's kind of hard to see. And the start date. Now notice that since you used a date and time formatting, you can click on this calendar here. Yay, nice. And go to the start date. So the start date is 6/1/2013. So life is so much easier like that. And we can go back to 2013. 6/1. There we go. 6/1/2013. You can type it also. You do not have to use the calendar. I just think it's kind of cool. Alright, hit tab, and the salary is $26,250. Now notice that when you type it, it looks like that. When you hit tab, it automatically puts in the dollar signs for you. The bonus rate is 0.19. Okay, then we're going to tab, and we have the next row, and we're going to add in the information for the next person, which is number 42. And if you look on page AC23, you will see number 42. So, and it's in the picture, figure 1-26. So in the BR, we're going to type 42, tab. And y'all do not have to sit here and listen to me do this. You can pause it and just type it yourself. 261 Porter. Of course, you might have trouble seeing like me, but it is what it is. Porter Drive, Adelphia. Pennsylvania. And the zip code is 19156. The last three fields are excluded in the book. I wrote the numbers in on Blackboard for you, but I will just tell you here also. So the start date here should be 5/14/2012. So 5/14 and 2012. And notice that I just typed in the number 12 and it automatically typed it in as 2012. It's the automatic formatting, just like the automatic formatting is for the currency. The salary should be $31,500. Once again, you do not put in the dollar sign, the comma, nor the period. The computer will do that for you. So we hit tab. In this case, we have to put the decimal point 2 because the computer wouldn't know that the decimal was supposed to go, that the 2 is supposed to come after the decimal. So we do 0.2 and we hit tab, and that is automatically added in. On page 24, it tells you to go ahead and close the database altogether, or to close the table. So I'm going to save. You don't have to. When you try to close it, it will automatically close it for you. I mean, or prompt you to save, but it's always good to do it. So I'm going to close BookRip by clicking on that small arrow, and then it tells us to go ahead and exit Access. So we're going to click on the X to close Access altogether. And then we're going to take a break.